Hello, and welcome back to A Mental Break. I'm your host, Taylor Simpson, and on today's episode, I don't have a guest this week, unfortunately, but I'm working on getting some new guests next week, so stay tuned for those. Um, I just wanted to come on and put an episode for you guys out this week, because I did miss another week, because I missed 2 weeks before last episode with Lena. Um, I just wanted to jump on and do an episode by myself and talk about a few things that have been on my mind recently about mental health stuff and everything like that. I was actually meeting a friend yesterday. Her name is Eden. Shout out to Eden if you're watching or listening. We met over Twitch. Since I've been doing Twitch recently, I followed her on Twitch, and we were chatting back and forth, and she's really down to earth, whatever. And we finally, it turns out she's from Toronto, and I'm from Toronto, which is really cool. And so we met up and got to know each other a bit better yesterday. And we were writing a song together, or working on a song together. And the song concept is kind of interesting because it's something that I'm sure a lot of people are feeling right now in terms of like going back to some sort of normality again, quote unquote normality in the world right now. Like we've been sheltered inside for the last year and a half, or what feels like almost 2 years now. And, we're conditioned to not do certain things that we took for granted before the pandemic. And now everything's opening up again, and, like people are getting their vaccinations, and, stuff is starting to look up for the first time in a long time. And things are starting to open up fully again, and like concerts are back now, and restaurants are open fully, and you can go see your friends again, all that kind of stuff. So it's like everything's happening all so fast, it feels like, and I don't feel like anybody had any time to process. It was kind of like, oh, here we go, back into the world again, and it kind of feels like a weird foreign feeling. I know for myself, before the pandemic, I would like to think that I was a nice outgoing guy, and I was an extrovert, and I love people, and I love being around people, and I love being out of the house and doing things around town, or just anywhere really. I'm down. I'm pretty much game to do anything. But then the pandemic hit, and all of us were trapped in our houses and told not to go out and do things, and or see our friends or our loved ones or whatever. And now that it's opening up again and we're allowed to do that, it feels very strange. Like it feels like, in a weird way, it feels almost wrong. I don't know if anyone can relate to that feeling, but it's like I've been hanging out with a lot of people recently. Like now that we can, I'm fully vaxxed now, obviously, and everybody I've been seeing is fully vaxxed. But regardless, I've been seeing my friends again, and been able to hug my friends again for the first time in like over a year, which is amazing. And my roommate Nylena, we've been downtown a lot the last couple of weeks. Then her and I just got back from like a weekend trip up north. We went to Sable Beach and Southampton and Dorcas Bay and all those kind of areas up there, and we had a great time up there on the beach and stuff like that. So like we're getting to the house again and doing things with friends and seeing people, and I'm back at work again now finally. So I've been serving for the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks now, or something like that. Back to a dining room and patio again. So that was been interesting to transition back into that again. But all of these things considered, it still feels strange to me. Still feels like at any moment it could be taken away from me, or like it's so weird. Like everyone was saying like when stuff goes back to normal, quote unquote normal, everyone's gonna get out there and do crazy things and see everybody and do all these things, whatever, and travel, and it's just like. But now that it's actually happening, it's a weird kind of thing where it's like, I don't know, like, we took everything for granted before, and everyone's saying like we're never gonna take it for granted again, kind of thing, and now here I am, like 3 weeks, 4 weeks into everything being open again in Ontario at least, and I just feel like it's back to the same way it used to be, which is such a weird thing, man. Like I don't know if it's just like a me thing, or if anybody listening or watching can relate to that. Like I just feel like it's right back to the way it used to be. Like we're taking it for granted again. Like we're all going out to restaurants, and we're like I have a hard time. I talked about it in the last episode with Lena. I have a hard time getting off autopilot. I've been experiencing a lot of that recently. of like not being able to stay present in the moment and like actually enjoy what's happening around me. Or like, I'm there but I'm not fully there. Like I'm like with my friends, or we're out somewhere, like I don't know, we're having dinner, or we're at a show or something, or whatever I've been doing over the last couple of weeks that things have been open. And I'm there in the moment and I'm enjoying myself, and like it's not like I'm not having a good time, but then, the day's over and I'm back home again and it's like, whoa, where did the day go? You know what I mean? And just like you kind of just sit there and go, everything just goes so fast, And I'm just having a hard time like keeping myself present in the moment and really, really soaking in everything, like every detail, and like being grateful that I'm able to do these things again, And it's such a weird thing that humans have this like, just this conditioning, Like it's just like we're so used to certain things or certain habits or routines or whatever, and it's just like I just feel like the last year or 2 years never happened, even though I know it did. It was horrible for a lot of people. But now that it's all back to normal, I don't know, I'm just going on a tangent here, but like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, I'm having a hard time staying present and enjoying the things that I used to enjoy before, and now we're actually getting back to do these things, and it's like, I really want to be able to just live in the moment and take it all in and, just relish in the fact that we're out here again, and we're at a restaurant, or I'm out seeing my friends again and giving them hugs and doing fun things again. Like, and I'm about to, I'm trying to book a show for later this year and put out an album, and, the music industry is getting back to normal. And like, so all these like cool things are happening, and it's just like, man, like, I don't know. It's just a weird foreign feeling that I'm battling recently with the autopilot, and just like feeling strange about being happy about these things, like, it's still just a very foreign feeling, But yeah, that's kind of like what the song is going to be about that Eden and I are doing. And that's really just based on how I've been feeling over the last couple of weeks. So like, if you guys are watching or listening, let me know like how you guys are doing with everything transitioning back to the way things used to be. Or like, I know obviously things aren't the same, and I don't expect them to be the same after this. Like, how can they be? But like, things are starting to open up again, and we're starting to be able to do things we used to be able to do, pre-COVID. So like, let me know, like, reach out to the Instagram at A Mental Break Podcast, or my personal account at Taylor Simpson Music. Shoot me a DM, or like if you're watching this on YouTube, drop a comment in the YouTube section, and let me know how you guys are dealing with this transition back into normalcy again. Like, I hate saying normalcy because like I don't know what that even is, but for the lack of a better term, just like back into like the real world again, and not just being cooped up in our houses and not being able to see anybody or do anything. You know what I mean? So yeah, I just wanted to jump on here today with you guys and be open with you guys about where I'm at with life and stuff like that, and how I've been feeling recently, and I'm sure a lot of other people have been feeling the same way. Yeah, I mean, that's really all I've got. It's going to be a short episode for this week. I apologize, guys. I do want to just give a huge shout out to all of you watching and all the listeners listening. The amount of support I've gotten on this podcast that I literally just started because, I don't want to make this sound bad, but like, I was just like really struggling to be productive during COVID. Because I started this back in March in the second lockdown, and I wanted an avenue that I could go down to like, help people in the best way that they could. And I talked a lot about this in the last episode with Lena too, but I just want to touch upon it again for you guys watching and listening, how much this means to me that you guys are listening to every episode, or watching the episodes on YouTube, or, shooting me a message saying like, hey, like, your podcast really helps me out, like, and I love that you have guests come on and talk about their issues and stuff like that, and like, it makes me feel like I'm less alone, and like, that kind of stuff is like, you can't beat that. Like, it's what I hoped would happen with this podcast, and the fact that it's actually happening and I'm seeing it right in front of me happen, it's amazing. So just thank you guys so much for tuning in. every week for the episode and for being so respectful to the guests that I have on, opening up about their mental health. Thank you for being respectful to me for this project and for when I do these one-on-one things with you guys through my podcast. Thank you for respecting what I have to say with my mental health and my life, and for giving me this platform to break down the barriers of mental health conversations. Like that was a whole goal that I had in mind when I first started this podcast, and now we're 16 episodes in. Like, we're almost at 20 episodes, which is crazy to me that it's almost at 20. Like, usually I would have gotten to 5 or 6 and be like, all right, well, I'm bored now, or it's not doing very well, or I'm not seeing any results, I'm just going to stop. But you guys keep tuning in, and you keep listening and keep watching, and I've gotten lovely messages from you guys about how this podcast has helped you, and I really enjoy talking to the guests that I have on the show. Like, a lot of them are my friends, or just people that I've met here and there through my life that feel comfortable enough to come on and talk about their situations, but in a cool way that's gotten me closer to so many people that I wouldn't have normally because of this medium, this media that I've created, and it's opened my mind to a lot of mental health stuff that I wasn't aware of. I only know from my own experience what I deal with, and what my friends deal with, and what they tell me about their mental health and stuff like that. But it's such a vast subject, and there's so many different types of illnesses and symptoms and medications and therapy solutions and coping mechanisms and all these sort of things that get tagged along with it. And to be able to sit down with somebody, even through even virtually, like the Zoom calls I've been doing, and a couple of the in-person ones I've done, it's so cool to be in a moment like that with someone, and to have the floor just completely open, and then for them to be so vulnerable and open about these things, and speak from the heart, and be brave enough to share some of the dark things that happen in their lives to hopefully help others. That's such a cool thing that I get to experience with this podcast, and with you guys listening and watching and supporting the people that come on, and also when I talk about stuff like this with you guys as well. So yeah, I just want to give a big shout out to you guys and to all the guests. If you're listening, any of the guests that have been on the show so far, thank you so much for being on the show, first of all. For opening up and sharing your story with all of us. I can't even begin to express how amazing that is, that you took the time of your day to come talk to me on this platform, and allowed yourself to open up about these hard things in your life and make this a more palatable, more accessible, more easy of a subject to talk about, like it should be. So thank you guys. Thank you to the guests. Thank you to Lena, supporting me in the podcast, and Adriano, and Caleb, and Kat, and Mike, and Jonah, and hostess about Alex, and my goodness, I've had so many guests come on. I don't want to forget anybody. But you guys know who you are. Thank you guys so much for coming on and sharing your story with us all, and making this podcast an enjoyable experience that I want to keep doing. Hence why I'm here doing this one-on-one episode. I could have just, fucked off and not done another one. But I was like, no, I need to do an episode, because I care about you guys. I care about the guests, and I care about this podcast, and I want to see it grow. And, I want to see this podcast take off and get more people listening, more people watching, and make mental health conversations more accessible. And if I can help anybody, with me sharing my story, or my guests coming on and sharing their story, and somebody listening or watching and hears these stories and can relate to those stories and can see that these guests or myself have gone through these things and are finding out ways to cope better with it, or manage it better, or just pushing through the day, and if that helps them, and they find peace in that, or they find constructive ways to help themselves, and that's ultimately the best outcome I could ask for, you know? So thank you guys so much for being a part of this journey. Again, please engage. I want to hear from you guys. Comment down below in the YouTube videos. Send me a DM on Instagram at A Mental Break Podcast, at Taylor Swift's Music. If you want to reach out, I would really appreciate it. I'd love to hear from you guys. Like I said from the top, I will have more guests coming on. I think I have about 2 or 3 guests lined up for the next couple of weeks. And I think I'm going to hit about 20 episodes and then take a small break. That'll be season 1, I think will be 20 episodes. And then I'll take a small break. I'll try to compile, like I take my break, I'll try to compile like a bunch of episodes rather than having, jumping from week to week. It's a lot of work trying to find a guest that's willing to come on, and then I have to edit both versions and put them up and upload them and stuff like that. So it's, and I have a music career. I'm on Twitch. I have friends I need to see. Like, I work 3 days a week at my restaurant. So, like, I'm short for time here, and I want to keep doing this podcast. But it's tough trying to juggle it week by week like I've been doing. So I think after 20 episodes, I'm going to call season 1 done. Going to record a bunch of new episodes with a bunch of guests first, compile them all, and then I'll start season 2, and that way I can just like pump out episode after episode each week and not, be behind or have to miss any weeks for you guys. So yeah, that's about everything. This is kind of like just an update podcast / video. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for listening. Stay tuned for more episodes. Hopefully one next week with a guest, and then subsequently the next couple of weeks with guests until we hit 20 episodes. But yeah, again, feel free to reach out. I want to hear from you guys. Feel free to give back some feedback and like what you want to see in this show more, what I could use, like any I'll take any constructive feedback. Like if you guys want like a new segment, or if I haven't touched on certain things that you'd like to hear me talk about, let me know. I'd love to, I'm forever evolving this format of this podcast, so just let me know. Anyways, guys, thank you so much. Take care. Be safe out there, and I'll see you next week. Okay, bye, everybody.